The forest was quiet, colder than usual, and Evan walked with slow steps, holding a small lamp in his hand. He had come to this alien world only to study plants, but tonight something felt different. The air was heavy, the wind carried strange whispers, and even the leaves on the tall blue trees seemed afraid to move. Evan felt as if someone was watching him, following him, breathing behind his back, but every time he turned, he saw nothing. He took another step, and the ground shook. Not gently, not like a normal vibration. It shook so hard that dust fell from the trees. Evan froze. His lamp trembled in his hand. Then the shaking came again, slow, steady, and powerful. Someone big was walking toward him. Someone who weighed more than any creature he had ever studied. Evan's heart began to beat fast. He looked around, but there was no place to hide. The forest was too open, too empty. The footsteps got louder. Leaves cracked. Branches broke. A deep breath echoed through the night like a storm rolling in. Then he saw her. A giant alien woman stepped out from behind the trees. She was nearly 3 times taller than him, her long dark hair tied behind her shoulders, her skin marked with silver stripes that glowed faintly under the moonlight. Her body carried old scars, the kind only warriors had. But what caught Evan's attention was not her size, not her strength, it was her eyes. They were sad, heavy, and lonely, as if she had not spoken to anyone in a long time. Evan took a slow step back, but the giant woman lifted a hand, not to attack, but to show peace. Her voice was deep, echoing softly through the forest. "Do not run, human," she said. "I will not harm you." Evan wanted to believe her, but her size alone was frightening. He raised his lamp a little higher so he could see her better. She looked tired, almost broken. Her left arm had an old burn mark, and her armor was cracked in places, like she had survived many battles. She took one careful step forward. "My name is Vora," she said, her voice softer now. "I am a widow of the Titan clan. A widow. A lonely warrior. A giant woman standing in the cold forest with eyes full of grief." Evan swallowed nervously. "I'm Evan," he said quietly. "I'm just a researcher." Vora stared at him for a long moment. Her breath formed white clouds in the cold air. "I know who you are," she whispered. "Humans. Your kind carries a strength that my people lost long ago." Evan frowned. He didn't understand. Why would a giant warrior be interested in him? He was only a simple human man with ordinary skills. Then Vora did something unexpected. She walked closer, lowering herself to one knee so she was more level with him. Her huge face was only a few feet from his. Evan felt his heartbeat jump. He had never been this close to an alien giant before. Vora looked directly into his eyes. "I have watched you for many nights," she said. "You are kind. You are brave. And you are exactly what I need." Evan stepped back, confused and nervous. "What do you mean?" The forest wind turned silent, like even nature wanted to listen. Vora leaned closer, her voice dropping to a trembling whisper. "Human, I need a husband," she said. "And your children will shape a mighty future." Evan felt his entire body go cold. He couldn't speak. He couldn't move. But before he could respond, Vora's expression changed. Her eyes widened. She suddenly grabbed Evan and pulled him behind her huge arm. "Stay behind me," she growled. "Someone is following us." A deep growl echoed through the trees. Red eyes glowed in the darkness. Something dangerous was coming. The growl echoed again, louder this time, and Evan felt the ground vibrate beneath his feet. Vora's massive body stayed firm, shielding him like a living wall. Her muscles tightened, her breathing changed, and her eyes narrowed as she searched the darkness. Evan could tell she had gone from calm to battle-ready in a single second. "Don't move," she whispered, her voice low and sharp. Evan nodded, gripping his lamp with shaking hands. Red eyes slowly moved between the trees, watching them with hunger. Then the noise faded, as if the creature had stepped back into the shadows. But Evan knew one thing, whatever it was. It feared Vora. She didn't relax, not even for a moment. After a long silence, she spoke again. "They are testing us," she said. "Watching how close I am to you. Who are they?" Evan asked softly. Vora stood straight, towering tall again. Her face looked hard now, not sad like before. "Hunters. My people call them blood trackers. They follow scent, heat, and fear. And they want me gone." Evan felt a shiver run down his spine. "Why you?" Vora turned her head slightly, and for a moment she looked older, like someone carrying a heavy burden for too long. "My past is full of battles," she said. "And I did not choose all of them." She motioned for Evan to follow her deeper into the forest. She walked slowly, stepping gently so the ground would not shake too much for him. Evan followed, his mind full of questions. As they passed between two thick trees, Vora finally began to speak. "I was once a general," she said. "My clan was strong, feared across this region. We fought to protect our land from invaders. I survived many wars. But one battle changed everything." Evan listened carefully, noticing how her voice trembled at the edges. "The enemy used weapons that burned everything," she continued. "I lost my partner that day. Lost my soldiers. Lost almost my entire clan. Only a few scattered numbers remain now." Evan looked up at her face. The pain in her eyes explained all the scars on her armor. "I am so sorry," he whispered. Vora nodded slowly. "As a widow, my clan expected me to stay silent, stay hidden, and wait for my life to fade. But I refused. My partner died protecting our future. I cannot let his bloodline end." Evan hesitated. "But why do you need me?" Vora stopped walking and faced him directly. Her expression was serious, almost desperate. "Because humans carry something rare," she said. "A kind of courage and spirit that my people lost over generations. The old legends speak of a child born from a human and a titan, someone who could bring unity between races. Someone strong enough to protect the weak." She took a deep breath, her huge hands tightening at her sides. "Evan," she said, "I searched for a human who had a good heart. And I found you." Evan felt overwhelmed. A giant warrior widow choosing him? Watching him for nights? Believing he could shape some mighty future? It sounded impossible. "But I'm not a hero," he said quietly. "I'm just a researcher." Vora shook her head. "Heroes are not born. They rise when the world pushes them." Before Evan could answer, a sudden snap of branches echoed behind them. Vora grabbed Evan's arm and pulled him behind a large rock. This time, the growl was sharper, closer. Red eyes glowed again. 4, then 6, then 8, blood trackers, many of them. Vora grit her teeth and whispered, "They followed us. They heard everything." Evan swallowed hard. "What do they want?" She looked at him with a cold truth in her eyes. "They want to stop the prophecy," she said. "They want to stop you." The creatures stepped forward, metal blades shining in their hands. The hunt had begun. The blood trackers stepped out from the shadows like living nightmares. Their bodies were lean, long-limbed, and covered in dark scales that blended with the forest. Their glowing red eyes locked on Evan first, not Vora. That alone told Evan everything. He was their target. Vora lowered herself slightly, placing one giant hand in front of Evan, keeping him hidden behind her. Her voice dropped to a cold growl. "Do not run, human. They strike faster than fear." Evan nodded, even though every part of him wanted to sprint away. His legs felt weak, but he held his ground because Vora's presence gave him courage he never knew he had. The leader of the blood trackers stepped forward. He carried a long spear made from dark bone, the tip stained with old blood. His voice was rough and sharp like broken stone. "Titan Widow," he hissed, "hand over the human. His blood must spill tonight. The prophecy ends now." Vora's eyes narrowed. "You will not touch him." The leader laughed, a cruel sound that made Evan's stomach twist. "You think you can protect him? You are alone. You are wounded. Your clan is gone." Vora didn't respond. She simply planted her foot firmly into the ground, making the soil crack beneath her weight. Her huge frame expanded, muscles tightening, ready to fight. The blood trackers circled around them, 8 in total. Evan watched from behind Vora as her breathing deepened and her eyes glowed with a low, dangerous light. Suddenly, one blood tracker rushed forward with blinding speed. Evan barely saw him move. But Vora did. She swung her arm like a falling tree, striking the attacker so hard he crashed into a rock and did not move again. Evan stared in shock. He knew she was strong, but witnessing that strength up close felt unreal. 2 more hunters lunged at her from both sides. Vora blocked one with her forearm and kicked the other away, sending him tumbling through bushes. But the leader did not attack. He watched Evan carefully, waiting for him to panic. Vora roared, the ground trembling with her anger. "Stay back!" But one blood tracker was smart. He didn't go for Vora. He went for Evan. He leaped over Vora's shoulder with a sharp blade ready to strike. Evan froze, eyes wide. In a split second, Vora grabbed the attacker mid-air and slammed him into the dirt. She curled her arm around Evan protectively. "You will not touch him," she roared. But the fight was getting harder. Vora was strong, but she was heavily outnumbered, and the blood trackers moved with frightening speed. She was taking hits, small cuts, shallow wounds, but they were adding up. Evan knew he couldn't just hide. He had to do something. He looked around desperately and saw a fallen branch, thick and sharp. Not much, but better than nothing. He grabbed it quickly. Another blood tracker jumped toward Vora's back. Evan didn't think he moved. He swung the branch with all his strength, hitting the attacker right across the face. The creature stumbled, surprised. Vora looked back at Evan with shock. You fought?" "I'm not letting them take me," Evan said, voice shaking but determined. For a moment, Vora's expression softened, almost proud, but the leader growled loudly. "So the human has spirit," he hissed. "Good. It will make his death meaningful." He raised his spear and pointed it at Evan. Then he said something that made Evan's blood run cold. The hybrid child must never be born. Evan felt his heart stop. Hybrid child, prophecy, future. Everything Vora told him. It was true. Vora stepped between Evan and the leader. "You will not harm him," she growled, but the blood tracker leader smirked. "You think you can stop us? Even if you survive, others will come." He whistled sharply. More red eyes appeared in the distance. Dozens. Maybe more. Vora clenched her fists and whispered, "Evan, we must run. Because if they stayed, they would die." Vora grabbed Evan gently but firmly, lifting him as if he weighed nothing. Before he could protest, she sprinted through the dark forest. Her giant legs moved fast, shaking the ground beneath them, while behind them the blood trackers howled and followed like hungry wolves. Evan could hear their claws scraping the rocks, their breaths sharp, their footsteps growing closer. "Hold on," Vora said, her voice strained. Branches whipped past. Trees flashed by like shadows. Vora ran with everything she had, but Evan could hear the frustration in her breathing. She was hurt, and the cuts she took during the fight were slowing her down. Still she didn't stop. Still she didn't let him go. After several long minutes, the growls behind them faded. The red eyes disappeared into the darkness. Only then did Vora slow down. She reached a tall cliff covered in blue vines and pushed them aside, revealing a hidden opening. "This way." she whispered. Evan followed her into a large cave, glowing softly with natural crystal light. Strange markings covered the wall, symbols of Vora's clan. The air inside was warmer, safer. Vora finally sat down, breathing hard, her wounds still bleeding. Evan hurried to her. "You're hurt. Let me help." Vora smiled weakly. "You helped already. More than I expected from a human researcher." He tore a piece of cloth from his own shirt and carefully tied it around her arm. Vora watched him closely, her eyes soft but filled with something more respect. Maybe even something deeper. After a moment of silence, Evan finally asked, "Vora, what did that blood tracker mean? What hybrid child? What prophecy?" Vora leaned against the wall, her voice slow and tired. "Long ago, my people believed in a coming protector, a child born from two different worlds. A human father and a Titan mother. Such a child would have wisdom, courage, and immense strength. Enough to defend both races from future wars." Evan listened, his heartbeat quickening. "But why me?" he asked. "Out of all humans?" Vora looked at him with steady eyes. "Because you have a gentle heart. You do not seek war or power. You care. And that is the strength my people lost." Evan looked down, unsure how to respond. He was just a simple man, yet this giant warrior believed he could change the future. Then Vora stood up slowly. Despite her wounds, she moved with dignity and purpose. She knelt before him, a giant woman kneeling to a human man. "Evan," she said softly, "I chose you. I ask you again. Will you marry me?" Evan stepped back, shocked. "Vora, marriage? Why now?" "Because," she whispered, "once I accept you as my mate, the blood trackers cannot kill you without breaking ancient laws. The marriage binds us. It protects you." Evan felt his chest tighten. This wasn't just a romantic question, it was life or death. Vora touched a glowing mark on the cave floor. Suddenly, the entire chamber lit up with blue light. Strange symbols formed a circle around them. "This is the old Titan marriage ritual," she explained. "It requires a vow of trust. If you step inside the circle with me, you become my husband." Evan stared at the glowing circle, feeling the weight of the decision. On one side, danger, hunters, death. On the other, a powerful ally, a future he couldn't imagine. And a bond with someone who risked her life for him. He looked at Vora, her wounded arms, her lonely eyes, her trembling but hopeful expression. He took a slow breath. Then he stepped into the circle. Vora's eyes widened, her voice trembling. "You accept?" Before Evan could answer, thunder boomed outside the cave. The ground shook violently. A huge shadow darkened the entrance. A giant armored alien stepped in, holding a massive weapon. His voice thundered, "Titan Widow, hand the human over. The marriage ends tonight." The giant armored alien stepped inside the cave, and even Vora froze for a moment. He was almost her height, maybe taller, with armor that glowed red like burning metal. His eyes were sharp, cold, and fixed on Evan as if the human was nothing more than prey. Evan felt his legs weaken, but Vora moved in front of him instantly, blocking the intruder's path. Her wounds reopened from the sudden motion, but she refused to step aside. "General Krevak," she growled, "you have no right to enter my refuge." Krevak laughed, a deep, harsh sound that echoed off the walls. "You broke your clan's law the moment you chose a human, widow, and I will end this foolishness myself." Vora tightened her fists. "He is my chosen mate." "He is nothing," Krevak replied. "A weak creature that will only bring doom." Evan swallowed hard, forcing himself to stand tall behind Vora. He could see how exhausted she was, how much blood she had lost. She had fought for him, run for him, protected him. And now another enemy had come, but this one seemed stronger. Vora spread her arms wide, creating a shield around Evan. "If you want him," she said, her voice hard as stone, You must go through me. Krevuk raised his massive weapon. Gladly. He rushed forward with shocking speed for someone his size. Vora blocked the first strike, but the impact pushed her back several steps. Rocks crumbled. Dust rose. Evan stumbled but did not fall. Vora growled and attacked. Her fists slammed into Krevuk's armor, leaving cracks, but he grabbed her by the arm and threw her against the wall. The cave shook from the force. Vora! Evan shouted. She tried to stand, but Krevuk pressed his foot onto her chest, pinning her down. She gasped, struggling for air. Your time is over, Krevuk said. The prophecy must die. Evan felt something break inside him, fear, guilt, helplessness. He looked around desperately and saw a fallen crystal shard near the ritual circle. It was sharp enough to cut through almost anything. Without thinking, Evan grabbed it and ran toward Krevuk. Get away from her! He shouted. Krevuk turned, surprised that a human dared attack him. Evan drove the crystal shard into a weak spot in Krevuk's armor near the back of his knee. The giant roared in pain and collapsed to one side, giving Vora enough room to roll away. Evan stood shaking, the shard still in his hand. You're wrong, he said breathlessly. I'm not weak. Vora stared at him, stunned. For a moment, her eyes softened, not in fear, but in pride. Krevuk rose slowly, fury burning in his eyes. You insignificant! Before he could finish, Vora slammed her fist into his jaw, sending him crashing into a wall. She stood tall again, despite her pain, and placed herself between Evan and the enemy once more. Krevuk wiped the blood from his mouth and sneered. Fine, kill me if you wish, widow, but more will come. Many more. The human cannot survive this world. Vora lowered her stance. He will not face it alone. Evan felt warmth spread through his chest. Vora didn't just choose him, she believed in him. He stepped forward until he stood at her side. Not behind her. Beside her. Vora, he said quietly but firmly, if marrying you means we fight together, then yes, I choose you. Her eyes widened. Evan, he took her massive hand in both of his. I'm not running. Not anymore. For the first time, Vora looked almost speechless, but Krevuk growled, rising again with rage thicker than smoke. Then you choose death. Before he could strike again, Vora let out a mighty roar that shook the entire chamber. She lifted Evan gently and whispered, Hold on. Then she unleashed her full Titan strength, slamming Krevuk into the ground so hard the cave floor cracked. But outside, more footsteps echoed, more enemies were coming. And this time, they weren't hiding. The echoes outside the cave grew louder, heavier, and more violent. Evan could hear dozens, maybe even hundreds of footsteps approaching. The ground trembled with every step. Dust gently fell from the ceiling with each vibration. Vora stood still for a moment, listening carefully, her eyes narrowing with calm but lethal focus. They are coming, she whispered. Not hunters. An army, Evan's heart pounded. An army for us? Vora shook her head. No, for you. Her voice held truth that made Evan's skin crawl. She helped him down from her arms and stepped forward, pulling in deep breaths. Evan could see her pain, her wounds, her exhaustion, but she forced her body to stand tall like a warrior reborn. This ends tonight, she said, before Evan could respond. A loud roar came from the cave entrance. A wave of armored blood trackers rushed inside like a flood of shadows. Their weapons glowed red with burning heat. Their eyes locked on Evan immediately. Vora stepped in front of him again, her arms spread wide, her voice turning into thunder. You will not touch him. The first wave attacked. Vora grabbed one hunter by the head and threw him into the others. Their bodies collided like broken branches. Another hunter jumped from the wall, but Vora swung her massive arm and sent him crashing into the opposite side of the cave. Evan watched in awe. She was fighting like someone who had nothing left to lose, but everything left to protect. Still, they kept coming. Evan grabbed a long broken bone spear lying on the ground. It was heavy, but he held it tight. He refused to hide. He ran beside Vora, striking a blood tracker's leg to slow him down. The creature hissed but fell, giving Vora enough time to slam her foot onto its chest. "You fight with courage," she shouted to Evan. "That is why I chose you." But the battle changed. More blood trackers entered. They formed a circle around Vora and Evan, moving in shadows, faster and more coordinated. This was no wild attack. This was a planned extermination. Evan swung the spear again, but a hunter struck him across the shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground. Pain shot through him. Vora roared and threw herself over him, taking 3 hits meant for his body. The blows cut deep into her back. Blood dripped down her armor, but she didn't fall. "Get up, Evan," Vora said, her voice shaking. "I need you." Evan forced himself to stand, even though everything hurt. He gripped the spear so tightly his hands shook. "We end this together," he said. Her eyes softened just for a breath. Then the blood tracker leader, Kruvuk, appeared again at the entrance, no longer alone. Behind him stood a massive creature, twice Vora's size, covered in black armor with glowing red veins. Evan felt true fear for the first time. "That is a doom beast," Vora whispered. "They only release it when they want everything destroyed." The doom beast roared, shaking the entire cave. Rocks fell from the ceiling. A crack split across the floor. Kruvuk pointed at Evan. "Take the human alive. Kill the Titan." The doom beast charged. Vora pushed Evan aside and met the creature head-on. The impact exploded like thunder. She dug her heels into the ground, muscles straining, but the doom beast was unbelievably strong. It pushed her back, inch by inch, its claws digging into her armor. Evan saw Vora's legs shaking. She couldn't hold on much longer. "No!" Evan shouted. He sprinted across the cave, leaped onto a fallen rock, and drove his spear straight into the doom beast's glowing neck joint. The creature roared, twisting violently. The spear shattered, but the damage was enough. Vora saw her chance. She let loose every bit of strength left in her body. With a final roar, she slammed both fists into the doom beast's head. The creature crashed to the ground, unmoving, but the effort cost her. Vora fell to her knees, breath shaking, blood dripping from multiple wounds. Evan rushed to her side, catching her before she hit the ground. "Vora!" he cried, "Stay with me." Her hand weakly touched his face. "Evan, you fought with me. You are my true mate." But Kruvuk was not done. He stepped forward, weapon raised, eyes burning with hatred. "Both of you die now." Evan stood in front of Vora, even though he was trembling, ready to face death. But outside the cave, a new sound filled the air, hundreds of heavy footsteps. Not hunters. Titans. Vora's people had returned. The cave entrance filled with a deep, rhythmic thunder, footsteps heavier than anything Evan had heard before. Kruvuk paused mid-step. The blood trackers froze. Even the injured ones looked toward the opening with fear trembling through their bodies. Evan turned and saw them. Titans. Dozens of them. Maybe more. Huge figures, armored in old tradition, skin glowing with battle markings, eyes burning with fury. They moved like mountains coming alive. Their shadows covered the cave floor as they stepped in. One by one, the blood trackers immediately backed away. A powerful Titan woman, carrying a staff taller than Evan, stepped forward. Her voice echoed like rolling thunder. "Vora, widow of the Titan clan. You are not alone." Vora, weak and bleeding, lifted her head. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Elder Mira, you came?" "We saw the sky burn," the Titan elder said. "We felt your call, and we saw the hunters chasing you." Her gaze shifted to Evan. "And we saw the human who fought for you." Kruvuk snarled. He is forbidden. The prophecy must die. Silence, Elder Mira commanded, striking her staff on the cave floor so hard the stone cracked. The other Titans formed a semicircle around Kravuk and the remaining blood trackers. Kravuk looked at them with shaking rage. You cannot protect the human forever. His existence breaks the law. Elder Mira stepped forward. Then the law will break. Every Titan in the cave dropped to one knee in agreement. Evan stared, stunned. He had never seen such unity. Never imagined he would witness something so powerful. Kravuk raised his weapon, but a dozen Titan spears pointed at him instantly. He realized he was outnumbered and defeated. You lost, Vora said weakly. No, Kravuk spat. Not yet. With a last roar, he charged toward Evan, hoping to end the prophecy with a single strike, but Vora moved before anyone else, even with her wounds. Even unable to stand tall, she launched herself between them. Kravuk's blade struck her shoulder instead of Evan's heart, sending her to one side. Evan screamed. Vora, but she didn't fall. She pushed the blade away, grabbed Kravuk's wrist, and twisted. There was a loud crack. Kravuk roared in agony as she slammed him to the ground. Stay away from my mate, she growled. Two Titans stepped forward and restrained Kravuk. He struggled, but it was hopeless. The elder raised her staff. This traitor will face judgment. As the Titans dragged Kravuk out, silence finally filled the cave. Evan rushed to Vora, catching her as she sank onto a rock. Her breaths were shallow, but she smiled weakly. You are safe, she whispered. No, Evan said, tears forming. We are safe. She touched his cheek with her giant hand. Your courage saved me. Evan took her hand with both of his. And your strength saved me. Elder Mira approached them slowly. Human. Evan, do you still accept the Titan widow as your life partner? Evan looked at Vora's tired face. Her scars, her strength, her heart. All the fear he once had melted away. Yes, he said. I accept her. I choose her. Vora inhaled sharply, her eyes softening with emotion. Elder Mira nodded and placed her staff in the center of the ritual circle. Then the bond is complete. You are husband and wife. A warm light filled the cave as the crystals responded to the vow. The symbols glowed brighter, swirling around them like gentle stars. When the light faded, Vora leaned closer and whispered, Evan, there is something you must know. She took his hand and gently placed it on her stomach, warm, strong, alive. Our future has begun, she whispered. Evan froze. You mean? She nodded, tears forming in her glowing eyes. Yes, the prophecy lives. Evan's heart pounded with joy and disbelief. The Titans around them lowered their heads in respect. Outside, the sky began to clear, revealing bright stars. As if the universe itself was celebrating the moment, Vora leaned into him. Exhausted but smiling, our child, she whispered, will shape a mighty future. And Evan held her close, knowing their story had only just begun.